S-D-P-P. The Steve Dangle Podcast. With your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Sorry, Steve. You are no longer Steve. You are now Adam Wilde. As 48 million people pointed out.
Okay.
Jesse, you want to explain yourself?
I'm gonna explain what happened.
What happened, Jesse?
We record this over Zoom, and depending on the order of which Adam and Steve enter the Zoom chat is where I see them on the screen. So sometimes Adam enters first, sometimes Steve enters first, and they swap places depending on who enters first and who enters last. So I had it set up for whichever one, Adam coming in second and Steve coming in first, and then it happened to be the other way, and then I forgot to edit it in post. So that's the actual technical explanation of why your nameplates were reversed.
Can you believe this guy?
I'm sorry.
I can't believe him because, dude, I do that stupidness all the time, but I never really get called out on it. When CJ was on, I think it was Adam said something, and Adam was in the box next to my head. So I did this as if to look at him. And then I watched the YouTube video and I'm staring off screen because Adam's not next to my head at all. And I'm like, why did I didn't have to do that.
Yeah, well, that's just you being stupid.
It's me being a friggin' idiot.
I don't think our situations are comparable. Mine was a bad edit.
If it's like this to Steve, it must be to everyone.
Yeah. The exact same. All right. Listen.
Everybody knows who Steve's math teacher.
My name is Adam Wilde, and I'm sitting on my big ass, and I will not be talked down to. All right.
Oh man!
I apologize, YouTube audience.
Oh, you should, Jesse. There's lots to apologize for. You know what? There's so much to get to today, and actually, this is the show where things start to go quiet. I'm glad that we have the news that we have, except for one story, which yeah, that's the one story. I really wish we didn't have to do that story. We will get to that. But other than that story, glad that we have the news that we have because, frankly, this is the off season. And as much as you're seeing your favorite NHL broadcasters still broadcasting, everybody's like, we don't know when this is going to come back. We did get some OHL news that broke today. We'll talk about that. Jeff Merrick actually breaking that stuff. Frankly, this is the last 2 episode week that we're going to do until we get some sort of certainty on when the NHL season is coming back. Because honestly, we could just sit here and do a bunch of terrible watered down episodes, or we can do one a week. That's going to be great. We're going to have lots of interviews. We're going to make sure that content is thick, like Steve's booty or his head. And it's going to be great.
And we're going to be every Wednesday, correct?
Every Wednesday.
No.
Except for when we're not, but
Yeah, except for 1 week.
There'll be a couple weeks off here and there. Remember, it's like July and August, except it's November, December, and it's dark and scary.
So I'm ready to do 10 minutes on Mac Hollowell going to play for a Swedish team or something.
You know what? I'm sure there's somebody who could do that. I am not your co-host for that. If that's what you want to do. However, I do want to talk about something. The Dallas Stars jersey is potentially. Are we ranking it the worst jersey in NHL history? And I want to start the show off with, give me the 5 worst jerseys you've ever seen in NHL history. And where does the Dallas Stars new jersey sit on that? Because frankly, I think it's got to be top 3 minimum, but you're going to have to give me your top 5. And I know I'm just springing this on you both, but your top 5 worst jerseys in NHL history, where does it rank?
The NHL went through this weird phase where they thought more is better. Always more. The Lightning, go look up. The Lightning had a blue jersey where lightning was going down the sleeves and across the stomach and lightning. And it's like, we get it. You're the holy shitting Lightning. Way too much. The Blackhawks. Not the Blackhawks, sorry. The Coyotes had they had the Kachina Fox,
which was great.
Coyote, and they did this awful third using that logo. So that was up there. There was a Blues jersey that was so bad, Mike Keenan refused to let his team wear it.
That was the one with the horns on it, right?
The horns all goddamn over it, Jesse.
Terrible.
And maybe the most overthought of logo of all time, to the point where they missed the obvious, the Mooterus. You know it was coming. The Mooterus. It's not only is this not the worst jersey of all time, it's not the worst Dallas Stars jersey of all time. Type in Mooterus. Uterus, except instead of you, it's moo.
I know what you're talking.
First of all, get red off of the Dallas Stars jersey. Get out of here. Second of all, your logo is a uterus.
Oh, God.
That's supposed to look like a bull.
What was that?
The Mooterus, Adam. The Mooterus.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
The only thing more disgusting than Mike Modano in a Red Wings jersey is Mike Modano in this jersey. He actually wore it.
So it's supposed to be the constellation.
Yeah, except it's not. It looks like reproductive organs.
Jesse?
I have a top 5 for you.
Okay.
All right. So at number 5, we're going to go with the mustard Nashville Predators jerseys.
Ooh.
Do you remember those? They were just all mustard yellow with the Predator in the middle.
If I would never eat mustard that color.
It looks like it's gone bad.
Everyone keeps calling it that. No, it's not. It's terrible.
So that's at number 5.
Okay.
Number 4 would be the yellow Buffalo Sabres jerseys.
I know exactly what you're talking. It made my list too.
Slug.
Yeah, so the ones with just the circle logo in the middle and the rest of it's just yellow, because that's what we all think of when we think of the Sabres, just a giant yellow jersey.
Man,
that's number 4. Number 3 would be the Islanders jerseys, where it was the dude who is on a
Captain Highlander.
The Captain Highlander.
Yeah,
that terrible jersey.
The Brett Lindros special.
And it went into the late 90s, early 2000s theme of we need diagonal on our jerseys, except the Islanders are like, diagonal? How about a wave? and
a sailor.
Man, so bad. Gross.
So that one
I think it's Ziggy Palffy, Adam. It's funny you said Brett Lindros. I think it's Ziggy Palffy.
I had the hockey card.
Number 2 is the Oilers jersey, where they had like an oil flying as a constellation thing.
Oh,
as like
my
a
God.
Comet.
I mean,
it was
if you saw that on Pornhub, it wouldn't look out of place, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right. It was just all
that's not where I went at all.
That's where I went
with an oil drop.
Single guy.
Oh dear. Oh heavens. Oh heavens to Betsy. Bro, what are your team's colors? just
stick with the palette.
No, that's never been the Oils. Ugh, gross.
And the last one, Jesse, at number 1.
Number 1, I'm gonna do the Montreal Canadiens throwback candy cane jersey.
They were awful.
The entire top to bottom striped jersey. What the hell was that?
Yes. So
and then it said cock in the middle. CAC. You remember that? It was a maple leaf. It was a maple leaf and it said cack.
Abs candy cane.
You know what? The Steelers put out a similar jersey a few years ago. It's their 1930s jersey. And it looks the Bumblebee jerseys and for the Steelers. And it was like their worst years as a franchise where they didn't win games in the 30s. They were an awful, awful, awful franchise that barely survived. Everybody was kind of like, why are we throwing it back this far? Like, do we need to go back this far? This was pretty bad. This is not a good time.
Jerseys are awful.
Rough.
Yeah. So that's my top 5.
All right, I'm going to give you my top 5. You ready to go?
Adam, let's go.
We've got the very current Dallas Stars Monster Energy drinks coming in at number 5. That is what the jersey looks like. It's every guy with a fucking dually. If you're from Alberta, you know what I'm talking about, with the big exhaust and it's lifted up and it's got 40 bumper stickers and it's got Calvin and Hobbes peeing on an Oilers jersey and it's got energy sticker and it's definitely pulling 2 dirt bikes behind it. You know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure it's like that in Dallas too. And honestly, I don't know what the Stars were going for with this jersey, unless literally Monster said, "We are buying your jersey and we are putting our because there's going to be advertising on the jerseys here pretty soon, isn't there?" So
I would think so.
At some point.
Are they trying to sell Monster Energy drink on that? Because I'm sure Monster's got a ton of money.
I have a question about those jerseys. Do they glow in the dark? Because
they must.
That would be kind of cool during the intermissions.
No. All I can think is, Mr. Burns, you promised to donate jerseys to the Dallas Stars. Oh, just grab some out of that glowing tree over there. And he handed them these. I sent a jersey in the chat just now.
Just saw that. What is this?
So this is Salavat Yelayev. or UFA. I believe this is the team that Rodion Amirov plays for, and this is their
Leafs new number one prospect. Let's not a lot of people still know that name.
That's right.
Let's make sure people Rodion Amirov doesn't roll off.
Who you all know, and if you don't, you're stupid.
What an idiot.
So this is their jerseys this year, and it's the same.
Wow.
It
Now,
is
are
the
they
same.
does the same jersey company for the KHL? Is it still Adidas?
I have no idea who makes the KHL.
I bet you somebody.
It's not Adidas. You bet what?
I bet somebody in our audience knows. I bet they do. MasterCard sponsors the Rodion Amirov jerseys.
Oh, I'm ashamed that I don't know. And also, like, it's a really strange jersey because if you look at the gloves of the player who I sent, it's got blue on them. Like, this isn't their color scheme. What's your jersey? What are your team's colors? At least Dallas, like, I like their old black jerseys.
Oh, they were great.
I thought they were cool, but
The one thing
all about?
we've talked about this before. The one thing about jerseys is I sort of wish teams would stick within their framework. Like you look at the Yankees, they've got three. They got the pinstripe, they've got the gray, and they've got the white. And that's what they've got. And I think they have black sometimes, right, Jess? They have like a
not really.
black New York or something like there's a white lettered or navy blue or whatever it is. But it's sort of just the Yankees are the Yankees. It's ubiquitous. And like the Leafs have gone through different Leaf changes throughout the year, but at least it's been the Leafs. The Montreal Canadiens jersey has been the Montreal Canadiens jersey since time immemorial.
At least the Leafs are blue. They don't have a red.
A red. Yeah, they never stepped outside of blue and white. It's just been blue and white, right? They had a little bit of that in the late 90s, that little silver glitter around the thing, which was a little bit like
the Potvin jersey behind you, Steve, that era Leaf jersey, the silver one. I didn't like it.
No, this isn't the silver one.
That's the next year. That would be when, like the Cujo years, is when it got into the swoopy numbers
with the TML on the shoulder.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they got
go in and out with that. It fit the era, but it didn't age great.
It was very Britney Spears. It worked for the time.
Baby.
Now let me talk to you about this. All right, let me give you a top five. So at number 5, we've got the Monster Energy Drink Dallas Stars jerseys. At number 4, the Bruins jersey with the actual bear, whose head is slightly lifted to the side. Pete
Blackburn and many other Bruins fans call it the Pooh jersey. The Pooh Bear. Oh, bother. It's not good.
It's so bad.
That's a bad jersey.
That's when the Bruins were bad, too. They
made Ray Bourque wear that jersey. How dare they?
Oh, man.
No wonder he left.
That's an insult to Ray Bourque. Oh, my God. I can't believe they made him wear that. The Bruins with the actual bear at number 4. Number 3. The Ottawa Senators with the Senator jersey with the Centurion who's actually looking at you. You know how the Senators always usually like this? And he's like,
another one with waves
in one of the jerseys. Yeah. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, the one where his face is turned towards the front of the jersey. Yeah.
I associate that jersey with Martin Havlat.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Tom Prizing.
They were very good at the time. There's no question. It was just a goofy jersey. The profile was enough.
They would have won the cup if they just stuck with it.
It was supposed to look like a seal, right? Like an emperor's seal.
Yes.
Ancient Rome. That's what it was supposed to look like. Nobody in ancient Rome had the full. It was only facial profiles. Too much to do the head-on face. Way too much. Not supposed to be a bust. So number 2, LA had these weird jerseys when Gretzky left. Do you remember the Kings jerseys in the late 90s after Gretzky left? Do you remember them?
Wait, after Gretzky left? Because Gretzky did wear the Burger King jersey. Are you talking about the one with the purple king on the heart?
Okay, hang on. I'm going to pull it up. Oh, it is. That's the one. That's the one I'm talking about.
What do you type in? What do you type in?
Just put King's jersey bad, and it's the first picture. And Gretzky actually wore it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what an ugly jersey. So it's got in this particular picture, it's Gretzky, and I think the captaincy is on the wrong side, by the way. And then it's got the swipe down like a sash, and then it's got an actual king with a beard, and then look at all the shit going on. Side. There's so much going on.
Look at all the shit going on there.
It's crazy.
No, that's again the late 90s, early 2000s. More is better. It's
That's
very
a
not.
crazy jersey.
Honestly, that jersey looks like they took several jerseys and said, you know what, I can't decide between all of you. I like you all very much, so why don't we just put it all together and we'll teamwork.
Michael
It's
Jordan
crazy.
never had to wear that shit. Like, I can't
I
believe
know.
Wayne Gretzky actually had to put that jersey on. My God.
Bad. And number one, the worst of all time, the Buffalo Slug.
Yeah.
You think that's worst of all time?
That's
It's
the
pretty
worst
gross.
jersey of all time because it doesn't represent anything. You look at the Buffalo Slug and you don't feel angry, you don't feel upset, you're not even put off. You're just sort of apathetic, and that's the worst feeling. If you hate something, at least you're feeling something. If you love something, you're feeling something. If you're feeling apathetic about a jersey, like Buffalo seems to feel about the Sabres right now, it's a kind of feeling. That's the worst feeling you can have. You cannot have a worse feeling than that when it comes to sports. Apathy, man. You know what I'm talking about? You guys see what I'm saying?
I am looking at this. Here's how bad it is, right? I'm looking at this trying to get mad about it. And
Right.
I'm going to look at this jersey for 5 to 10 minutes tonight to fall asleep.
Yes. It's bad.
This is awful.
Yeah. You're talking about the
their
one
new
where
ones look so good.
It's
the one where the buffalo's like a moon turned on its side.
Yes.
Okay.
like a
yes.
fart cloud.
Yeah.
Just
Like a rabbit running really fast in an Art Deco sort of look. It's bad. It's really bad. And Sabres fans, you rarely see them in it because they don't like it either.
Well, and also, who the hell played for the team
At
when
that
they
point-
wore this
Thomas
stupid thing?
Vanek?
Yeah, he did.
Excuse me.
Tyler Ennis was drafted in the first round with that logo on his chest, and he deserved better.
Yeah,
He deserved better.
So did Maxim Afinogenov. Underrated.
Oh, Max
Underrated.
Offenoganov. I miss Max Offenoganov. He's still playing.
Where's he play? KHL?
Let's check. Max Offenoganov. Let's type that in. Born in 1979.
Wow.
41-year-old Max Offenoganov is currently playing he played for Dynamo Moscow last year. Was nearly he was nearly a penalty minute a game. I thought he was almost a point a game. He played for Dynamo Moscow last year. I think he might
Big
finally
club.
be done.
That's a big club.
It sure is. And he had 10 points for them.
Also, I believe Luch Sport makes the KHL jerseys.
Luch Sport.
I just Googled KHL jerseys and they come up with authentic and authentic KHL.
Would they be the manufacturer?
I don't know. It looks like it.
Well, that's interesting.
You can buy authentic jerseys from all the teams from them. So
Damn.
it looks like it's Luch Sport. Somebody will correct me in the comments.
Wow. Okay.
Max Offenoganov.
Oh, man. Woo.
Awful. I'm glad we spent time on that.
I did too. I just figured, you know what? It might be fun to go through and get our top 5 worst. Now, let us move on to Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Great moments in Selly history. Steve Dangle. Yesterday, we did, last episode, we were talking about the games that actually happened while you were being born. And it's funny, a lot of people messaged us with the game scores, and somebody actually pointed out that this first game that you ever went to, I asked you about the first goal you can remember somebody scoring, and it was Dave Andreychuk shorthanded against Detroit, I believe.
Calgary.
And we were like, there's no way that happened. Why would you put Dave Andreychuk on the penalty kill? Well, somebody looked it up, and lo and behold, Steven, they got the date, they got the time, and I believe it was the second period, like you said, and Dave Andreychuk scoring against the Calgary Flames. How do you feel?
I feel like, why do I remember that? Like, why can I still in my head picture, I know the room I was in. I was 5 years old when I saw that goal. What's wrong with me? The stuff I forget immediately after learning it, and I remember that.
So here's what I'm going to ask, because we're going to put this on hold for a month, and then we're going to come back with the feature. So I'm going to ask you, in all of 2020, the wild ride that it's been, okay, what was the best celebration that happened in this calendar year? I mean, if you can remember Dave Andreychuk's goal when you were 5 years old, I figured you might be able to go through some of the top sellies this year and remember them.
Sure. Does it have to be Leafs?
Doesn't have to be Leafs at all. No.
Okay. Some of my favorites, sometimes if a game goes to the 10th inning, 11th inning, 12th inning, at some point it's like, okay, I got to turn this game on, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the NHL, it's going to overtime. Oh, it's going to double overtime. It's going to triple overtime. Who was not watching the 5th overtime between Tampa and Columbus? So to me, one of my favorite sellies was, 8 periods worth of who's it going to be? Who's finally going to get it? And Braden Point's sudden realization that it's me. I did it. I'm the one who finally ended this 8-period game. And we now know the significance of it too, beyond winning a playoff game, which is very important. But Chris Johnston came on the show and said that the Lightning are not sure that they would have won the Stanley Cup or even that series had they lost game 1 in quintuple overtime to the Blue Jackets. So that to me was one of my favorite moments of the bubble. Austin Matthews, who never looks surprised to score a goal, scoring a game that the Leafs had a 1 in 140,000 chance of winning in game 4 against Columbus.
That was a big game.
It keeps happening against Columbus. Now, we're not going to talk about what happened in game 5, but
yeah.
Just the look on his face. I remember being so done with this team. I was going to just carve them like a pumpkin. I was so ready. And they came back and won the game. And it was this magical comeback that I don't know. I don't exactly remember my reaction, but I don't think it was huge. I don't think I exploded or anything and went, yeah! I think I just stood there smiling and shaking my head at the TV. Like, I could cheer for any team in the world, but I cheer for these guys. Like, just the craziest, most ridiculous, you can't write this stuff and it actually happens in real time team in the world. And then number 1, Columbus fans will like this because this happens against the Leafs for a change. What was a better celebration in the entire hockey world? And this was 2020, and it was pre-COVID, which makes it great. David Ayres walking into the visiting dressing room, Scotiabank Arena, and the Carolina Hurricanes lose their minds because they absolutely should have, because it was a magical moment. David Ayres getting an NHL win, thanks to Pierre Engvall for scoring the 3rd goal, and also thanks to the amazing defense of the Carolina Hurricanes, and thanks to his own abilities, because if I'm not mistaken, he stopped 8 of 10 shots.
He did.
Now that's a reason for a serial selly.
By the way, David Ayres only faced 2 fewer shots than Garrett Sparks this season.
You could argue that David Ayres, that's mean.
It's true. It is true.
You're bullying.
Not needed, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is a legitimate stat if you're going to post friggin' Drake lyrics after you get traded.
I think if you were to look at the Leaf season and where it was going and how inconsistent they were and how not good they weren't great. They had stretches where they were great, but they weren't great overall. I think the David Ayres game turned out to be a favorable thing for a couple of reasons. And actually, let's wrap the Kellogg segment because we should do that. So thank you, Kellogg's.
Steve's great.
Sure is. Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, Selly of the Week, which will return in December. Now, when I say the Ayres game was a good thing, it was a good game it was a good thing for the Leafs because of all the bad things happening at once. They lost so poorly. It was such an embarrassment. It was so shameful and ridiculous that it stopped them from making any moves at the trade deadline. And we have confirmation of that. Kyle Dubas Zach Bogosian saying, I had a meeting with Kyle Dubas the next day, which he canceled that night. He canceled it after the game that night because this team does not deserve anything. Kyle Dubas was willing to go out and spend assets at the trade deadline to acquire somebody to augment that group of bums. And then he finally said no. And I also would argue, and I don't know if we've ever, I don't know if we've done this yet, but to talk about the Leafs offseason, because everybody else has, we've talked about it with Chris, we talked about it with Eric Engels, we've talked about it, about the moves that they've made. But the makeup and the character of this team has changed completely. And there are a lot of people who think that's a good thing, some people who don't think it's enough, whatever it is. To me, there is a far more complete feeling to the way I look at this roster than there was before. I don't think a lot of, people are like, well, on paper, they're worse because they don't have Janssen and Kapanen, which is an argument you can make. I don't believe that's necessarily true. And I'll tell you why. I think sometimes you have to concentrate the ice time and the chances on the players most likely to score and most likely to make something happen. Guys like Janssen and Kapanen are not going to get enough ice time with the Leafs, kind of like Connor Brown when he was here, to put up the numbers that they're capable of putting up, because guys like Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares are going to suck up a lot of oxygen. And you also don't have Tyson Barrie, them trying to wedge Tyson Barrie in where Morgan Rielly should have been all season. Number one power play defenseman. He had 72 points the year before. I don't know why we were trying to make fetch happen with Tyson Barrie. I don't understand that, but that's what happened. Yeah. And so what that game did, it was a pivotal moment. They realized they needed to get tougher. They realized they needed more character. They needed to surround John Tavares with a few more leaders, a few more guys that have been there, and probably some more forceful personalities. And I think it's important when you're young. And I saw this as a young radio DJ. It's important when you're young to meet people that have been there and that whose only wish is that they could go back and be in your shoes at your age and make the most of every opportunity given them. Everybody has things where you go, man, I should have picked up the phone, or man, I should have done this, or man, I should have done that. We talk about that Darcy Tucker conversation we were lucky enough to be a part of on the bus after that Boston Bruins series. And Darcy talked about the fact, he's like, you only get so many opportunities. He's like, there's so much talent on this team, so much talent. It doesn't matter how young they are. They can do this. And he said, I just want to go in there and wring their necks and tell them they can do this and don't screw it up. Don't blow this, because it's over in a flash. And I think seeing Joe Thornton and seeing Wayne Simmons and even seeing Zach Bogosian, who just walks into the dressing room with a ring, who was playing with Victor Hedman. I mean, I think, I know he split time on all D, but the fact that he was able to do that in very, very important pivotal playoff games for the Tampa Bay Lightning says something. And so I think the David Ayres game was a great mindset changer for Leafs management. I think that they were doubling down hard on being kind of klepto about all the forwards that they drafted when it was past time to trade a couple of them who have since been moved. And I think you're now seeing a team that to me looks a lot more complete and has a little bit of room for young guys like Nick Robertson to make their way into.
Well, and they whispered about like, oh, you'd be surprised what Dubas is willing to do at the deadline. I don't even want to know, because the guys who they got for pennies on the dollar this offseason, you're probably talking at least a second round pick, because second round picks don't matter at the trade deadline. I don't need this. Like GMs just throw it at the door.
Steve, do you remember, and I don't mean to interrupt, but do you remember the Joe Thornton interview after the trade deadline where he was pissed that he didn't get traded?
Yeah.
Where do you think he was going to get traded?
I would imagine the Leafs.
Yeah. So who pulled the shoot at the last minute?
I think Dubas did a lot of the work he meant to do in February, in October. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I think happened. Now, another thing, and this is just coincidence, right? You can't really plan for this, but like the Edmonton Oilers bought at the trade deadline because they should have.
Yes.
That team deserved to be rewarded. They did really well. They went out and got Mike Green, who was a good pickup for them. They went out and got Tyler Ennis, who was a good pickup for them and cheap. Then they went out and got Andreas Athanasiou, who was not. Without COVID, he's still on the Oilers for this upcoming season. Mm-hmm. Probably Tyler Ennis too. Did Tyler Ennis re-sign with Edmonton?
I don't know. Let me have a look at that. I'll go have a look.
I think he did actually, but
yeah, he probably did. But
go ahead and look that up.
Okay.
And Mike Green would have been great for them. Instead, Mike Green plays 3 games for them, I think, or 2.
Retires.
And then retires. Tyler Ennis barely gets to play. Andreas Athanasiou, plays 4 playoff games for a team he was barely even used to. Anyway, so
1 year, $1 million.
Tyler Ennis did sign. Yeah,
with the Oilers.
And has Andreas Athanasiou? No, he is still sitting.
He's still sitting. So anyway, sorry, I said all that to say this: even if this Leafs team had deserved the upgrade, they would have spent this, that, and then all those guys walk right out the door. There are a few teams that got super shafted at this trade deadline. because of COVID, and I'm trying to think of one that got shafted worse than the Oilers.
That's pretty tough. Also, it was surprising to me to spend 2 second-round picks on Andreas Athanasiou. Like, I know that
Me
they
too.
wanted. Like, was there not another winger available for 1 second-round pick?
Right. It
Like, I
seems
think
a
there
lot.
was. It seemed like Ken Holland liked his guy, and that's fair. But I mean, oof, that was weird to me. That one was really weird.
Here, so this is everything they did at the deadline this year. They traded Joel Person to, which you talk about guy, they traded Person to the Ducks for a 2022.
Steve, no.
It's really good.
That's bad.
Anyway, sorry, that trade barely matters because there's a conditional pick, blah, 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 blah. I don't think anyone's actually going to play in the NHL. They got Tyler Ennis for a 5th. They got Mike Green for Kyle Brodziak, who they obviously didn't want, and a conditional 4th. The pick is a 4th in 2020, goes up to a 3rd in 2021 if the Oilers get to the Final Four and Green plays 50% of the games. Who knows? And it was Athanasiou and Ryan Kuffner for Sam Gagner and 2 seconds. So essentially they gave up a 4th, 2 seconds, and a 5th and got shit.
Yeah.
Got nothing for it. Like a dozen games combined. That's brutal. And it's not even their fault.
No, it's not.
It's
You just have to. It's
it
an
was a rich
acceptable
deal
loss.
for Athanasiou. It's not their fault.
Right. Well, and he may still want to take it. And then actually, that's the thing is that I think the David Ayers game is the reason we got the offseason that we got. I think it was a culmination of a bunch of things that happened all over the offseason, and you could almost just feel it coming.
Leafs MVP, David Ayers.
Well, it's not that, I don't want to be a Leafs fan and have revisionist history. It was quite frustrating. But at the same time, you have to look at what they've done since. And as on the ice, they've done nothing. Absolutely nothing. But in the offseason, with the exception of the Cody Ceci comments, which I'm still not over, frankly, I think the team's better. I think they're more complete.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that, the people are going to say, well, where do you get the 15 Janssen goals and the 15 Kapanen goals? Well, you get them from other people, or you get more from the guys that are paid to score them.
Well,
And
how
that's
about this?
like, why would you, if you're the Leafs next year, why would you run anything but PP1 on the power play? You just leave them there for 2 minutes.
Leave him there.
You have 1 power play unit.
Maybe swap out 1 or 2
Energy,
guys.
you
have like 1.5
humans
power
get
plays.
The guys are 22 years old and they can't stay out there for 2 minutes. I think
If
they can
it's-
manage it.
If it's a game 32 and the guy's tired in the second period, you might want to play
You
your
switch
people.
out 1 guy, maybe,
No,
but I'm not gonna accept 5 guys walking off the ice like, oh, I'm really tired after a minute 30.
I think
Come
you
on.
save it for round 1 of the playoffs when you play guys without limits.
I guess.
Give them a rest in the regular season.
Injuries are a huge wild card, and the Leafs had some pretty bad luck this past season. But you know what they're for sure not going to have? A month and a half playing like complete dog shit with a lame duck coach. Babcock should never, listen, whatever you think of the guy, he should have been fired after Game 7 in 2019.
Yes.
Because it was very obvious that is not the dude. Very obvious that is not the dude.
He got
And then they played
out-coached.
like crap for a month and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
They played like crap for a month and a half. I don't
And
care
and
about
it's-
your injuries. I don't have sympathy. Every team has injuries.
Beyond that, I don't even think it was injuries, Steve. There seemed to be things he was doing to prove a point to management, like I am the big dog here, and there's nothing you can do about it, and I will play the players the way I want to play them.
You think
And-
any of those vets, like you think Joe Thornton still signs here if it's Babs?
Don't know.
I don't think so. You think Thornton's in the opening night lineup?
No.
Spezza signed here when it was still Babs. So I don't know if I buy that argument.
I bet he regretted it.
Marlowe did as well. They
They were a day away though. They were a day away from trading him. They were a day away from trading
when
Spezza.
Babs was here. So I don't know.
Or not trading him. They were a day away from waiving Spezza.
Yep.
Mhm.
And they
It's a
didn't.
lot.
They didn't.
Did not.
Valuable piece. Turned out to be the heart and soul of the Leafs in the who knew Jason Spezza would be the heart and soul of the Leafs in the play-ins, but there we are.
Yeah,
That's what
fighting
happened.
in that game 5, just to
Literally.
get something going.
He was the MVP on that team. He's the MVP. And they and he
Well-
should not have been the MVP, but thank God he was. At least somebody
But
showed
all-
some fire.
Think of all the criticism Dubas has taken for, he's acquiring this old guy and this fighter and this old fighter. Can you imagine if they lost game 4 instead of 5?
No.
And the last thing the Leafs did was make Jason Spezza fight in a game they didn't give a shit about? Like, I don't understand why people are criticizing the offseason he's had when you know exactly what the problem is and you know exactly what he's trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't let the fact that they won game 4 cloud your judgment here.
Yeah. Well,
Again,
and
that's a one in a
was,
million friggin' win.
when the offseason started, I was definitely on the train of like, let's look at maybe a more solid option in goal, because I didn't believe that Freddie Anderson had given them great playoff success. It's a lot of like the Johnny Gaudreau syndrome in Calgary, great in the regular season, but in the playoffs, for whatever reason, when they needed him, there were games that he was great, but then there are games where you're like, where's Freddie tonight? Where is he? Like, there are, especially in that Boston series, the first couple Boston series, or the two that they played, those series, there are a couple of games in each series where like Freddie's just not here tonight. And you can't have that. You cannot have that. But what I like is they've got a guy going into the last year of his deal. He's going to be in his 30s, and it's a depressed economy. And the goaltending market is stronger next year by virtue of the fact that there are fewer goalies up. But goaltending this year got really squeezed in the offseason, like really squeezed. So Freddie Anderson is going to, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars potentially for him that are on the line this season.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like if you look at it, like this could be the difference between a $5 and a $7 million a year contract. If Freddie comes in, plays lights out, and some team wants to sign under that kind of money, it could be that, right?
You have a guy in net who's literally playing for tens of millions of dollars, and you're going to get that over the course of 82 games. And if he doesn't perform, then you know for a fact that he's not the guy. But the other side is there's so much pressure on him that you might get this unbelievable Freddie season.
Motivation.
It's only going to benefit the Leafs.
And then you got Jack Campbell, who probably believes somewhere in the back of his mind that he can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Adam, he also believes that the rest of us can too.
Yeah, he's the sweetest guy. He's the new James Reimer.
I believe in you.
I love Jack Campbell.
I would like to see these guys have a polite off, like until the first one to get mad loses.
Who? Which players?
James Reimer and Jack Campbell.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
It might go on forever.
It might be.
And then Joseph Woll is going to enter the conversation, because the first time I talked to that kid, he's a Leaf prospect in net, I was just like, did James time travel?
Wow. Really?
Oh, just the Scotch G. Willikers kid. And I'm just really happy to be here.
Well, then that's so cool, right? You love guys like that in the dressing room, character guys, which they always talk about.
Is it cool, Adam? Or is it neat?
I like the fact.
I think it's neato.
It's probably neato. Freddie Anderson would probably be limited to 75 pitches this year rather than the full game. He might be pitching a two hit total strikeout fest, but we're going to pull him at game 50, and it's going to be Jack Campbell the rest of the way. And I kind of like that. I didn't like it for Tampa last night, but I really, really like it for the Leafs. And I think that the goaltending situation is going to even itself out just a little bit. And if it doesn't, if Freddie's not good, then it's sort of like, well, we signed into that deal and the deal's done. Right?
That's why I wouldn't mind them re-signing this dude.
Freddie?
Yeah.
Well, I want to see him play first. It
would be. He's stolen a playoff. I would say in each series he's played as a Leaf, he's stolen a game.
Mm-hmm. But we were there when he gave games too, man.
More. Give me more. I need a little bit more. He stole. What did he steal? He stole game 5 in 2019. I think he stole. He stole game 3 in 2018. And with the Caps, that was a pretty high scoring series. Did he steal any of those? He almost stole game 6. And then the goal that ended up going in sucked.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough, saying, man.
You don't sign Freddie now. Absolutely not. He hasn't earned that contract yet. No, I need to see 50 games of Frederik Andersen first.
He's a microcosm of the team.
Yeah.
Great regular season, and then when the playoffs come, do you believe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Capable of greatness.
If you were going to rate the Leafs offseason, Jesse, Steve, and I will give mine rating as well, what would you rate it in schoolyard rating? So A, B, C, D, E, F. Not E. Sorry, there's no E. Why is there no E, by the way? A should, you know what I'm saying? A, B, C.
I think there used to be.
Did there? Because E should be like 50 to 59%. You know what I'm saying? I always thought that. I think it's weird that D is, but whatever.
Well, I would have got a E in Mr. Amani's class in grade 10.
Me too.
Or was no,
Here we
grade
go.
11.
Why is there no E in the grading scale? F is considered separate as it denotes a failing grade and does not need to go in alphabetical order. It just so happens that fail starts with a letter that skips one letter alphabetically on the scale. So the grading scale is technically A, B, C, D. And then when you fail, it's just considered a fail and not necessarily an F.
But if you put an E in there, it makes A's more hard to grab because A is 80 to 100%. B is a 70 to 80. C is a 60 to, and I know this because I was a C student, 60 to 70. And then you've got D that's a 50 to 59%.
Yeah, and then everything below that.
One per percentage, 10%.
All I'm hearing is it's arbitrary nonsense.
No, 80 to 100 is an A. What do you mean?
No, that doesn't make any sense. Why are you giving an A to 20%?
If you're within that 20% of being 100%, you get an A.
Well, that's
so huge.
That's like that's 20%.
No, but that's based on the curriculum. They're saying if you get 80% of that, you're doing great. It's not that.
B would be great.
B would be great.
Why don't we make B greater? Make B great again, is what I'm saying. Okay.
No, but then you're you're changing the range of A. You were saying A because if you're saying okay, B and A are the same thing, then it's all A. It's all that 20%. That 20% bar is what an A is. Does that make sense?
Right. Oh. But what I'm saying is it shouldn't. I'm saying you should do the intelligent thing, which is you've got five decades of percentage points or whatever you call it.
No, because that 20 is the same like you're doing good. It means the same, so it needs to have the same letter.
Well, what do you give Kyle Dubas, guys? What do you give Kyle Dubas?
I give him an E.
You give him an E? Yeah, actually, or what do you give him?
No, I give him a B because I don't think he made an incorrect move, but it's the team coming in. I want to see what they do, you know? So I can't give him an A because I don't think it was exceptional. So it's a B plus. It's like on the verge of being, okay, all the right moves were there. It wasn't over the top. We didn't go get McDavid, you know, it wasn't 100%, but it was all the correct moves, which is the baseline, which is a B.
By the way, every offseason for Kyle Dubas should be go get McDavid.
That should be for everybody.
I'm going to give him a 2019 B, which is a 2020 A minus.
Interesting.
And here's why. So again, you give up Janssen because you don't have any cap space. That's bad. You give up Kapanen because you don't have any cap space. That's bad. However, in 2020, teams are giving guys away. Nate Schmidt cost a third. Tyler Johnson went unclaimed on waivers. The fact that the Leafs were able to clear that space and get really good stuff in return. Joey Anderson looks like he could be a player. He's at very least not nobody.
He's a Marley.
He's what?
At very least, he's a Marley and a serviceable Marley.
I would say a top 6 Marley, right?
That's good.
Kapanen was the 15th overall pick. That's some good stuff. And then you're able to use what cap space you have on Joe Thornton and Jimmy Vesey. When they signed him, I was like, oh.
That's a good value move.
Finally, and Dubas is making dreams come true. The Joe Thornton, the Wayne Simmons, that's good stuff, Kyle. That's good stuff. And the analytics community go, what about us? And he's okay, fine. I'll throw you a TJ Brody bone. And they go, and they go, thank you very much for that. He gave everyone a little something to chew on. Within the parameters of 2020, Kyle Dubas, I'm going to give an A minus. Not a perfect job, but real good. You look at what some of the other GMs around the league have had to do versus what he's pulled off. I think he's done extremely well. I'm
going to give Kyle Dubas a 2019 A.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going high on this one. And there's going to be a lot of people like, yeah, you're a homer. Well, if you actually listen to our show regularly, you know that I was hard as hell on him after that press conference that he put out. We were tough, but I was the most vocal. I was upset. I was frustrated. And I had every reason to be. There was some...
This is a homer podcast.
Well, you know what? Yeah.
It's a Leafs podcast.
No, Jesse, we're completely objective. I don't know what you're talking about. We just happen to talk about the Leafs every episode all the time.
We're fans of the team.
And Steve happens to just drop the first round pick's name like everybody knows who we were talking about.
Rodion Amirov. Anyway.
But I'm going to give him a 2019 A. And I'll tell you why. This team is completely different mentality-wise than it was last year. And you can say what you want about, losing 30 goals in Kasperi Kapanen and Andreas Johnsson, and I'll meet you there. I don't think you're going to get 30 goals out of Wayne Simmons, TJ Brody, Joe Thornton, and Jimmy Vesey altogether. You might. I hope to get 15 goals out of Vesey. I hope to get 5 out of Thornton and maybe 30 assists. I hope, because he doesn't score a lot of goals. Maybe TJ Brody gives you another, 30 or 40 assists, but he's not going to score a ton of goals. And goals are what matter here. But we have goal scorers. We have people that can put the puck in the net. What they needed were guys, as I said before, who have been there and are literally, this is it for Joe Thornton, guys. This is probably it.
This is it.
So I don't know if you could have a better cause than let's win this for Joe in his hometown. I don't know.
Winning's fun.
You have to look at, as a general manager, not just the talent that you acquire, but what their motivation is. What's their motivation? We just talked about Freddie Anderson. What's his motivation? Well, tens of millions of dollars on the line on his next contract. Is he going to get a 3-year contract? Or is he going to get a 6 or a 7-year contract like Robin Leonard? Is he going to get the Markstrom contract? Or is he going to get the Corey Crawford contract next year? Now, I know there's a bit of an age discrepancy there, but you know what I'm talking about here. Mm-hmm. This is an important year for Freddie Anderson, and he knows it. And he's put some competition in there. Jack Campbell has been pretty damn good. And, small sample sizes, but people are like, what are you talking about, Jack Campbell? Well, look at his numbers with the shitty LA Kings, where he had a .928 save percentage in 31 games. That's not bad, guys.
I liked Aaron Dell's little tidbit where he goes, because people were talking about him like, hey, so you're coming in to be the third goalie. And he's like, I want to be better than the third goalie.
I love that.
He wants to steal Jack Campbell's job.
I love that. And Jack Campbell's like, you know what? I just can't let you little whippersnapper.
He's, may the best man win.
And he means it. He's not
and
even
he does mean it.
He's not being passive aggressive. He totally means it.
He shows up at his door with a mask and a cake that says, let's be pals.
You got to look at what Kyle Dubas had to work with. And what he had to work with was almost nothing. He had some assets in Kasperi Kapanen. And I think Andreas Johnsson in a normal world would have probably fetched more. However, as Steve said, Nate Schmidt is going for a 3rd-round pick these days because of the cap issues that teams have. If the cap, I don't even know if they trade Andreas Johnsson if the cap is going up. But if they were going to, I think he's probably worth more than what they got for him. It's just that's what they had to deal with. If you look at what Kyle Dubas had to deal with, he checked every box, including finally a top-flight right-handed defenseman. He finally solved the problem.
Right side defenseman.
Right side defenseman. Fair. You know who didn't have a right side defenseman? Kyle Dubas before, and Lou Lamoriello before him, and Dave Nonis before him, and Mark Hunter and Kyle Dubas before him, and then it was who was that? Oh yeah, it was Brian Burke before him, and it was who was that? John Ferguson Jr. before him, and Pat Quinn before him, and Mike Murphy before him, and Mike Smith before him. We have not had a good right-handed defenseman probably since Robert Svala, if he even played the right side. I think it was the 1 year he played here. Traded him from the and then he retired because it was just weird.
All I remembered about him is he wore 67 and I hated him for it.
And Dmitry Yuskevich, I think, was a right shot defenseman as well. That's the best the team had. This is great. And I am very high on what Kyle Dubas did. And I'm coming from a position of very low on what he did last year. Thrusting Tyson Barrie into the PP1 spot when he just wasn't working. And then, of course, Cody Ceci playing top line minutes. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Adam, what do you have next for the show? Because I have a question.
What do you want to do?
Well, so here's my question. How long have we been doing this podcast? How long has this podcast been around?
In May, it'll be 8 years.
I have a prediction.
What's the prediction?
We're going to have an estimated date for the beginning of the season by the time this show is uploaded.
Okay, so we've got an OHL estimated date, and I know that you just sent through a link from Freed that we have an AHL estimated date. So can we start with the O and then go to the A, Steve?
Sure. Well, you want me to read Merrick's thread?
Yeah, read Merrick's thread.
Okay, so Jeff Merrick making some waves early this afternoon with this thread. OHL GM's meeting has concluded. Some details. Season starts February 4th. Training camps start January 23rd. European and American players arrive January 8th and quarantine. It's going to be a 40-game season. 4 teams from each conference make the playoffs, which is a huge change for the OHL. It's usually 16 out of 20. So basically every team makes a playoff. Now it's going to be really hard to make it. 8 teams total. 1 or 2 exhibition games, January 29th to 31st, then right into the season. There was no talk about what happens with the U.S. teams. That's going to be really complicated because how many are there? 2, 3?
3.
3.
I want to say.
No details about how games and schedule will be determined, but it is believed teams may only play against 4 or 5 other squads. Also, no discussion about the contact issue. Teams may assume that's not going to happen. So some context there. There was a politician in Ontario. Who is it? Lisa McLeod? Who
I wouldn't know. I don't know. Sorry.
Anyway,
man.
she's now the sports minister because she was shuffled around for handling families with autism so poorly. Anyway, she was suggesting that there's not going to be any body checking in the OHL this season, which is utter nonsense and not going to happen. Dismissed. Sorry, this is back to Jeff Merrick. No discussion about fans during the meeting, but that's not a surprise at this point. And finally, OHL season would conclude May 16th. And reminder, the Memorial Cup has already been pushed back and will run June 17th to 27th. That was followed about 2 hours later by Elliot Freeman saying, hearing the AHL is now targeting a February 5th start date. Board of Governors approved today. So we got OHL February 4th. They're going to start. And AHL, not confirmed, but it sounds like it's going to be February 5th. CJ might have nailed it on this show. I think he might have nailed it. It's going to be the beginning of February.
So we keep speculating about the NHL start date, but Gary Bettman already said in early October that they're aiming for January 1st.
Yes, and I always aim for the net when I shoot. I miss.
So I think unless those plans haven't changed, so I'm just going to keep assuming that it's going to be January 1st.
And I think that's a fair thing to do, Jesse. However, if you look at even what's going on, let's put the politics aside for a second, but what's happening with the American election? There's a pretty good chance that and the MLB just saw terrible ratings for their World Series. Terrible. Like
all sports have had terrible ratings.
All sports, terrible. Yeah. But let me throw this at you. Until that election is wrapped up, it's going to suck up all the air in the room, with the exception of football, which just transcends because it happens on the same days every week and blah, 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 blah. And it's a religion. We get it. The thing, and it happens during the day most of the time too. So until this election's wrapped up, you're going to see a lot of disinterest in other things, especially on the American side of things, which the NHL cannot afford. If they're not going to have that many people in the stands, in the state, they're going to need some TV revenue, right? It's going to be really important this year. So what I would say is delay until February, because very good chance that whatever side loses this election, they're going to challenge it right up to the Supreme Court, which will take a month and a half or 2 months, which means we don't have a defined person until probably late December or early January. And by the way, in mid to late January, that's when the new president or the incumbent would take second term or first term, depending upon who won. So this, if anybody that thinks that the election will be decided on November 1st, maybe. Unless it's if it's a landslide, maybe, but there's going to be a lot of challenges put forward. It's a contentious time, as I don't need to tell you. So I would, if I was the NHL, I'd wait till February as well. Just my 2 cents.
I don't think that's necessarily the case because of the NBA's moves right now to push it even further up. They're trying to get December 22nd, 23rd going.
Amazing.
And that's an American-based league. And I think in Canada, with the Canadian division, you can rely heavily on those numbers being pretty high and bouncing back some of the
and that revenue's fixed, right? The Canadian money is fixed. It's the American money you got to worry about. Right? The Rogers deal is the Rogers deal. They're paying what they're paying. It's the American deal that I'd be more concerned about, and the American revenue that I'd be more concerned about. But you know what? We'll see how it goes. And you know what? The NBA, they had pretty good ratings in the playoffs.
No,
they didn't.
Everyone went down
to
except
abandon
like WNBA.
basketball. Yeah, because it did not do well.
It's just not doing well.
No.
It's just out of context for people, right? They're in their rhythm. Okay, so maybe I'm completely wrong. That was just my theory.
And sorry, there is an official statement now from the AHL. American Hockey League president and CEO Scott Housen. I didn't know that. Remember former Blue Jackets GM?
Yeah, I do remember him.
Has announced that the league's board of governors has approved moving the anticipated start of the 2020-2021 season to February 5th, 2021, due to the ongoing COVID-19 public health crisis. So to me, it's still just their target. The AHL continues to work with its member clubs to monitor developments and local guidelines in all 31 league cities. What a nightmare. And that's another league that has a lot of Canada, US to contend with. Further details regarding the season, the American Hockey League season, are still to be determined. In operation since 1936, the AHL, blah, 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 blah. So
I would love, by the way, what Chris and Eric were talking about a couple shows ago, where the AHL teams follow the NHL teams.
They
Would you
have
love
to do it.
like a double feature every time? I'd love to watch AHL hockey in the afternoon and NHL in the evening. That
Should
amazing.
be permanent.
Oh,
Like I would love. What if both teams were just attached to each other forever and they just play the same games?
And it's a
That'd be
60-man
awesome.
roster.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Football team.
One in the
The
day,
issue-
one in the thing every weekend, every day.
I love it. I love that. Plus, if you have guys that have to report, now that's tough because a lot of cities can't support that. But you have to have, if you've guys that are like on, like if let's say they're traveling together all the time, like the Leafs and Marlies. If a guy gets promoted, everybody knows him, right? That's not awkward anymore, and maybe he fits into the system a little bit better. Maybe it's better for camaraderie. I don't know.
Double-decker planes.
Yeah.
Everybody on one plane.
787s.
Here's the really unfortunate part. What about players' families?
What do you mean?
What about AHL players' families? Like,
about
because,
them? I'm
okay,
not sure what you're talking about.
Sorry. Okay, so the Canucks farm team follows them around.
They're allowed to have them, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
What?
Families.
Family. Oh, for sure.
Your question.
No. Sorry. The Canucks farm team plays in Utica,
Yes.
right?
Steve, if you're the member of a hockey family, you're used to moving.
I'm not talking about so this is not so you're bringing your NHL team with you, your AHL team with you, and all of their families.
You don't travel. No. AHL teams don't take families with them.
Also,
Well,
the NHL team isn't bringing their family all around all
No.
year. Like the Leafs family
doesn't
members aren't traveling with the Leafs all year.
So if you're a member of the Utica Comets and you have a family in Utica,
Then you're moving to Vancouver.
Yeah.
That's
Like
that's
you're traded.
with
that's
what?
pro
These
sports.
guys make 70 G's.
That's
right?
pro sports, Steve. That's what it happens. The Marlies live in Toronto. They make 70 G's. It's expensive to live here too.
Not many of them.
Well, what I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying, right? Is that like if you're in a pro sports family, and if you watched, remember that show Hockey Wives? Remember how crazy that was? How hard it was on those women?
But the
That's
Marlies
part
players
of-
know that they're playing in Toronto because they're
Right.
But
Toronto
that's the same
Marlies players.
argument
The
of,
Utica
like-
Comets are not anticipating living in
I
Vancouver.
think-
What happens
Anything-
if you get traded? You move your family. Like the
Yes.
same deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is like maybe, we'll arrange that in a month or 2 months or something. Like if this season goes
is
from
more
February to
permanent.
May, are these players not seeing their families then from February to May?
No, they would move them up. This is permanent. This is more permanent than what it would be. Like, I mean, if you think about the AHL too, how many guys from season to season are consistently with the same AHL team? There's way more movement in that league
There is
than
a lot
there
of
is in the
movement.
NHL, right?
Listen, I'm just thinking about it the way they're going to think about it.
Well, and I agree with you, but I think that you have to
Oh,
make,
yeah.
if you're a pro athlete, movement's part of the biz and on the personal life scale. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be sympathetic to that, but that's part of the gig. It is part of the gig. And if you're in Utica and you're a Comet and you know that there's not going to be any cross-border playing, start looking for places in Burnaby. Start looking for places in Abbotsford. Because that's where you're going to be.
What about Chilliwack?
Chilliwack's good too. I think that's a little far, but I don't know my BC as well as I should.
Isn't it Chilliwack Bruins? Is that what they're called?
Is that what they're called?
I think so. Boo.
Anyway.
If they are, I hate them. So sorry, I had to get that in there because I can't help but feeling like some pretty significant news is probably going to drop, and it ain't going to drop in the next half hour, so we're going to miss it.
That's all right.
I think it'll be a little bit. They got some runway here.
Yeah, man. They had the GM's call here, and they didn't. They can't just come out with an announcement if they didn't have anything at the GM's call a week ago.
Yeah, it's just odd that this is all coming together very fast.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Mitchell Miller situation. Yes. Mitchell Miller is a 4th-round draft pick of the Arizona Coyotes, as it stands. Mitchell Miller, from what we understand, in a normal circumstance, would have probably gone top 60. Probably would have been in the 1st or 2nd round, most likely mid-heat 2nd round. And by all accounts, player with some potential. I mean, if you're drafted, you got some potential, right? You're top 700 in the world outside of the NHL that year.
Yeah, you're pretty good player.
That's pretty good. Mitchell Miller was not included on most teams' draft boards. They threw his name out. This is a guy with 2nd-round potential, and they didn't even put him on the board. And the reason for that, and this story broke maybe a week ago. Well, not even a week ago. Was it 3-4 days ago now?
I think it was less.
Story broke that
the 26th, so Monday.
Right. So Mitchell Miller, it came out that when he was 14 years old, was bullying a black boy in his school who had learning disabilities. And not only, we talk about bullying. Everybody bullies a little bit. Everybody is bullied a little bit. There are more extreme cases in certain people's lives, and I'm not diminishing anyone's. But bullying tends to be, you picked on, name called, pushed, shoved. Sometimes there's fights, things like that. We've all seen it. We've all experienced it, right? Then there is, and I'm not devaluing anyone's experience. Let me just put that out there. Then there is torture. When you read the court records of what Mitch Miller did to this young man, it's appalling. I'm going to raise one story with you just in case you haven't heard this. But where he got caught was not only did he call this young man the N-word, which is the worst word in the English language, in the history of the English language. He also took a lollipop, rubbed it on the inside of a urinal, a used urinal, and gave it to the kid to put in his mouth. The kid had to be tested for AIDS.
Yep. Hepatitis, the whole deal.
At the hearing for this, the judge said to Mitchell Miller, I don't think that you're sorry. I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, I don't think that you're sorry. I think you're sorry you got caught, but I think you find this just inconvenient. And according to the Arizona Coyotes and Mitchell Miller's family, he sent an apology letter to all 31 NHL teams. The one person he has yet to apologize to, and who he continued to bully after he was 14 and after he was tried for this, was the young man who he tortured.
Isaiah Meyer Crothers.
And Isaiah Meyer Crothers' mother wrote a open letter to all the NHL teams, to everybody, I guess, and specifically to the Arizona Coyotes after this story broke. She said she didn't want to do it, and then she was going to do it. I don't know if you guys have it open there.
Yeah, can I read it?
Please do, Jesse. I'm just giving context for this story.
Yeah, her name is Joni. Hello, I'm the mother of the boy that Mitchell Miller bullied. I read the statements made by the GM, Bill Armstrong, and find them demeaning to our son. Are you aware Mitchell never apologized to our son? Are you aware 2 years ago he still taunted him? Are you aware this went on for years? Do you understand the mental damage Mitchell did to our son? I respect you stating he sent all the NHL teams an apology, but wouldn't it make sense if he was truly remorseful to send a letter to the kid that he brutally bullied, both mentally and physically? Is it a surprise he sent all the NHL teams a letter because this was for his betterment? I guess an organization and NHL team, I would expect so much more and hold them to a higher standard, especially with all the Black Lives Matter movement. As much as we pray Mitchell will eventually see the damage he did to our son, we have seen no remorse. The other gentleman had a sincere apology to our son, and our son forgave him. The magistrate said it best. Mitchell, I don't think you are remorseful for what you did more than you are upset for the negative attention you are getting. Again, the bully incident that continued over years has damaged our son mentally significantly, and your organization is more concerned about Mitchell and your hockey success. In my opinion, that is being part of the problem. There is a victim out there that was and still at the hands of your 111th pick. Best, Joni.
Pretty powerful.
Now, the Coyotes knew. And it's not just that they knew, everybody knew.
Everybody knew. And we didn't know somehow. I'm surprised that story didn't come out before the draft.
Well, no. He was like a second round-ish guy. Draft nuts would have known, right? But like we just aren't as invested in that. We got to prioritize what we're paying attention to. And, once we get past pick 15 for us.
Like 10.
Yeah, like, sorry, I don't know everyone.
Who did the Leafs draft again at number 15?
Rodion Amirov, damn it.
There you go.
Remember his name. But draft nuts, for example, like Scott Wheeler knew exactly who he was. So here's what he said on October 26th on Mitch Miller, personally. Unranked in the summer and fall and winter of 2019-20. He was ranked 76th in spring 2020. Then he learned about the case. Then he subscribed to and read all of the Toledo News's original trial coverage. So the Toledo News obviously covered it. Put him on his do not draft. Well, I won't paraphrase. Do not draft on my final board. Highlighted the Coyotes assaults. Highlighted the assaults throughout the rest of my coverage. And here's the excerpt that he put. Arizona Coyotes. Before I dive into any analysis of the Coyotes draft, it behooves me to highlight that their first pick of day 2, Mitchell Miller, was involved in a pretty ugly bullying and assault case in 2016 of a black classmate with developmental disabilities. It landed him in court, and the details are pretty disturbing. See the Toledo Blades coverage of the trial for more. Before learning about the case, I considered Miller for my draft boards. After reading on it in more depth, I decided against ranking him. So the Coyotes didn't have any of their first 3 picks this year. I think a couple of them were involved in trades. Does anyone remember why they lost their first?
Because they were trying people out, testing them, interviewing them before the allotted time, right?
These guys were punished a first and second pick for giving themselves an unfair advantage of knowing too much about the 2020 draft class. And their first pick was him. They stink. God, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. That's brutal. How do you do that in the first place, knowing that? But then to be the one team that the NHL had to punish because you cheated and you knew too much about the 2020 draft class, and that's your first pick. You suck. Garbage team. It's
pretty fair. It's pretty clear that the Arizona Coyotes are the worst off-ice team in the NHL.
Yeah.
And the way John Shaka left, because John Shaka, by the way, story goes, he had him pulled. He said, absolutely not. We're not drafting him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that? I hadn't read that.
That's what I've heard. So that's what I read. And I let me just put out there that I can't verify that like right at the moment, but that was part of the prep that I saw. So Bill Armstrong, while distancing himself from the pick itself because he didn't run the draft, is playing both sides here because he then stepped up and defended Mitch Miller. And Bill Armstrong is the first-time general manager, was the assistant general manager in St. Louis under Doug Armstrong. I find it a little bit funny that the new GM would have no say even if he's not announced yet, he'd had nothing to do.
That's a tough one because as they said it, the Blues made it part of the agreement to allow him to join the Coyotes.
Okay.
That he wouldn't help with their draft preparation.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. Can I just confirm Adam's statement about Chayka? So in The Athletic, they reported that in a June draft meeting, the Coyotes, scouts and front office staff, Miller was removed from the team's prospect draft list after concerns were raised about inconsistencies that surfaced when Miller explained this incident. And then in late July, Chayka's fired, and then intern GM's brought in, and then obviously the rest is history, and they draft him. So at one point, he was removed under Chayka from their draft board.
So whoever is in charge here, really, I mean, it's the head of scouting and it's the interim GM. But beyond that, who was the interim GM? Was it Steve Sullivan?
Steve Sullivan, yes.
Yes.
So I'd like a statement from Steve Sullivan on this one. And I'd like a statement from the head of scouting on this one. Because if it wasn't Steve Sullivan, and Steve Sullivan maybe didn't know, because he was just kind of plopped in there and then removed, which is conceivable, I guess, but you feel like in hockey, it's a small circle. It's a really small circle. That shit gets around. It gets around. I have a hard time believing Steve Sullivan wouldn't have known. I have a hard time believing Bill Armstrong wouldn't have known. And whether or not Bill Armstrong himself was responsible for this particular pick, he did step up and defend Mitchell Miller. And now he either didn't have context or he did have context and chose to defend him anyway. And neither are acceptable.
Well, and
it's not acceptable to not know the whole story. It's not acceptable to know the whole story and defend it because there's nothing to defend.
Supposedly, Steve Sullivan. This is the beginning of a Scott Burnside article from The Athletic. When the Arizona Coyotes assistant GM Steve Sullivan announced that the Coyotes were proud to make 18-year-old Mitchell Miller the 111th pick in the 2020 draft, it rendered moot every noteworthy event in the league's fight against racism. It's a hell of a start there, Scott.
And bullying, by the way. They have a pretty big anti-bullying campaign, as I recall, which I think goes hand in hand with racism. But,
well, yes.
You can see why the organization that Wayne Simmons and Evander Kane, all those guys are a part of, you can understand why they can't work with the NHL. Why they came out and said, no, we can't work with them. Yeah. Like, how does this happen? And the Arizona Coyotes were bragging about their CEO being on the anti-bullying committee for the NHL not weeks ago. This is insane. And this is one of those stories where I really hope people, especially Coyotes fans, do not let them off the hook. Do not let them off the hook until they've properly explained themselves.
I know what happened here.
I want Steve Simmons to make to make a public statement. I want their head of scouting to make a public statement. I want the owner to make a public statement. They all have to be held to account for this. And if they sidestep it, if they defend it, press them again.
Steve Sullivan, you said Steve Sullivan. Simmons. Yeah.
Oh, okay, Steve Sullivan.
I was confused.
Well, Steve Simmons for other reasons, but no, I'm kidding. But Steve Sullivan for sure. For sure.
That's a big story. He might write about it. We know exactly what happened here. They saw a second round talent available in the fourth round and pounced. And they didn't care.
100%. And hope this wouldn't come out.
They thought this could fly under the rug, you know?
How is anything going to fly under the table this day and age? Especially something that was registered in a court.
Now, many people said this incident happened when he was 14. Is it possible that people can reform?
Jesse, what do you say to that?
Show me the receipts. And this man has not shown any receipts. If anything, he has not walked into a store and he has gone in a different direction and has chosen to steal from stores.
This is the problem, right? There, of course, people can. Of course, 14-year-olds can be redeemed.
Sure,
of course, but it sounds like this continued. It sounds like there was a lack of remorse. There was no apology to the boy he did this to, Isaiah, who is now a man. And this player was drafted and he did this, and this player was drafted and he did this. Well, I think you put your finger on the problem, right?
Mm-hmm. And we know there was no remorse or apology because the boy's mother said it. in a letter that she was compelled to write after he was drafted. You know.
Let me ask you this, guys. You know, I really think this is an important question. What happened if you went home and had to tell your parents that you did exactly what Mitchell Miller did? What do you think they would do at 14 years old? What would they have done?
I try not to think about it, Adam.
Well, I can tell you what would happen to me. I wouldn't put on skates again. The funding for hockey would be cut. I would be in intense therapy, assuming my family could afford it, which thankfully I think they could have and would have. Would be in sensitivity training, and I would be at their family's door apologizing. I guarantee you, Ken and Marilyn would have been like, we're going there now, and you're apologizing now. We're not waiting another second. And not only are you going to apologize now, you're going to apologize for the rest of your life as you continue to understand what it is you did. And I don't think that that's abnormal. I don't think my parents are heroes. In this hypothetical situation, I think that's a normal response.
No, I think they're just good parents. I was surprised skates were the first thing you mentioned. Because that's not where my brain went. That wouldn't have been my top priority.
I would have never played hockey. It doesn't matter how good I was. I would never play hockey again until I was an adult and could afford it myself.
I would have never watched TV.
Right? No social life, nothing.
No, I would have no belongings. I would have nothing. I probably would not own my own ass either.
That's true.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you'd say that you would never be able to play hockey again, because then you gotta, when you say that, you wonder, okay, how come Mitchell was able to play hockey enough to where he's drafted into the NHL?
Because he was good.
When he's doing these things, his parents still let him play a game growing up.
Economic benefit.
Yeah. Even though he's being charged in a court as a 14-year-old, his parents are still like, hey, go have fun on the ice.
My parents put me in, I got sick of playing competitive hockey, which I wasn't good at anyway. And I didn't want to spend my Friday nights, power skating. And I knew I wasn't going to make the NHL. So it made a lot more sense for me to just go back to house league and have a good time. And I remember one of the years that I did, my grades weren't very good in school. I think this was grade 7. And my parents said after the first couple weeks of hockey, and I was the captain on this team, okay? Because I just come back from competitive. I was like pretty good and compared to house league. And they said, you're not playing for the next 3 months. And I didn't.
Oh, damn.
And that was just, that's because my grades were in the mid 60s, which by the way, that's how I graduated. I was like with a 69 average. But they were so upset about my grades, that I didn't get to play for 12 weeks. My grades.
How'd your grades do?
I got up into the mid 70s. Guys, I wasn't a great student.
I think the point is
I was underperforming.
Right.
I was never a great student. And I think they sort of accepted that as well. By the way, neither were fucking they. Okay. My parents were not good students either.
Oh, so, tell me you didn't bring that up during the argument.
No, I don't think I knew that until later, conveniently. But the reality was they knew I was underperforming and not taking it seriously. And they said, so the one thing that you love the most, we're taking that now.
Yeah.
So take us seriously because we're going to take it away. And my parents, long divorced, was not always easy between the two of them. But one thing they agreed on was great discipline for me.
Oh, they came together like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man to form the superpowers and kick your ass.
Absolutely.
I'm not a parent. Hopefully one day I am. You two are parents, but you don't have 14-year-olds yet. But I hope all the parents of 14-year-olds, if your 14-year-olds out there bullying and getting charged in juvenile court, I hope they're not allowed to also go out and play hockey and have fun. Mm-hmm. Like those things seem like they shouldn't correlate. You shouldn't be allowed. You should have some sort of punishment, and you should be in like better standing with yourself as a person at 14 if you're going to be going out and having fun all the time and playing hockey.
The priority number one should have been Isaiah. And
yes.
It doesn't sound like it ever was Isaiah.
Let me ask you this.
A big problem.
Along those lines, Steve, if this story comes out, and so we find out what's happened in Toledo, right? Toledo, I forget what the newspaper was, but we're looking at the articles, and Isaiah's mom, and I forget her name, Joni comes out after this story breaks. Everybody's reacting as they will. And she says, well, wait a second here. This is a guy that went through multiple layers of sensitivity training. He apologized multiple times. He came to our house. It was a sincere apology, which she said the other boy in the incident did.
Yeah.
So she's not like she's afraid to admit that somebody apologized and that Isaiah forgave him. Mm-hmm. It's not like there isn't forgiveness in these people's hearts. And she said, I'm hoping that he does. Imagine how different this story is if he just shows up and does the bare fucking minimum.
And this
just
is the thing.
You know it's wrong unless you don't.
We've seen this in professional sports. We've seen it in the NHL. X person did X horrible thing. It's well documented. Either the person he did that horrible thing to says, I've long forgiven them. They're remorseful, blah, blah, blah. Or the family comes forward and says, we've forgiven them, et cetera, et cetera. It's very different from this situation, right?
There's an alternate reality where this story still breaks in 2018, this story from 2016, and Joni writes this letter, and it's a letter about how much Mitchell has changed, and how much work he's done with Isaiah, and they're best friends now because he's actually changed as a person. But the exact opposite happened because that's not the case.
Yeah, and teams aren't stupid. They do their due diligence.
Yeah, I mean, you saw in Moneyball. Oh, he's got an ugly girlfriend. No confidence.
Right. So they
do their research, guys.
Yeah, they will. Well, and they always talk about, I know he's 5'9", but his dad's huge. He's going to be 6'4". You watch.
That's all they said on the draft.
Yeah.
It's
true.
Where was I going with all that? I can't remember now. You sidetracked me with the giant
homework
parents.
Is what you were saying.
Yeah. It's not uncommon, I have heard, for teams to be like, just throw it into the middle of a conversation to throw the player off. Hey, what about this? And then all of a sudden, you better know all about that. And you better not lie because they know the truth.
Yep.
And you better be real sorry, et cetera, et cetera.
And it's not a forced sorry. This has to be genuine.
The Coyotes, who were punished for doing too much due diligence, did not do the due diligence on this because they must have asked him about it.
Here's the thing.
Actually, I think they said they did, and they were satisfied by his response.
They did the due diligence and ignored the reality.
They didn't give a shit because he's a second-round talent who was available in the fourth.
He wasn't on the draft board at one point because of this.
Because he was good. It's why the reason he got to keep playing hockey at 14, because he was good. We're going to just let that go. Hope it goes away.
There's an alternate reality, Jesse, as long as we're talking about these, where he goes undrafted and realizes, wow, this has really followed me around. I have made mistakes. And then he properly repents, tries his best to make do, and maybe the family forgives him. And then maybe word gets around to the NHL teams, and then maybe this guy's able to have an NHL career properly.
You know what I mean? Is here that right now he's at North Dakota. North Dakota's also released a statement saying that they accepted him and they hope that their culture at North Dakota can reform him.
How about they do something about it actively rather than hoping their culture will passively do it?
Right. So we'll see about that. But it's just he can't sign a contract in the NHL while he's playing at the University of North Dakota. So hopefully, if there is no remorse, that contract never surfaces from the Coyotes. And they have an opportunity here to not give that to him. So
sorry, Jesse, to cut you off there. I didn't mean to. I thought
no, go.
I thought you finished the sentence. But this is a good reminder that organizations like the Black Girl Hockey Club and the new Hockey Diversity Alliance, those are the groups you want to be supporting right now. If the NHL was committed, they'd be working with both of them. And the Hockey Diversity Alliance came out and said, we can't work with them. It's performative. They don't mean it. Keep pushing. We had these conversations in the summer. Keep pushing because we're not there yet. Here's another stark reminder. And I'm sort of surprised that when the Hockey Diversity Alliance said we can't work with the NHL, that it wasn't a bigger story. It's crazy to me. That was kind of like, oh, we can't work with them. And then it was like, just went away. They came out in public, said it. So,
The Coyotes have to take the longest look in the mirror.
oh boy,
They've had
mess.
listen, in terms of scandal, a lot of the Sens scandal of 2 seasons ago was more cartoony, like the Uber thing.
Mhm.
Ooh, there's an Uber video. Ooh, it was, they just can't catch a break. And like part of the can't catch a break was just their team was bad.
There were so many privacy things wrong with that too.
Yeah.
That coming out. That
Like,
made
what
me
a creep.
uncomfortable.
What a
Yeah.
creep. Yeah. No, and that's part of the reason why they didn't get completely hammered for it is most people were like, no, that driver's
Who doesn't bitch about their boss? So,
Right.
And if you are a boss, sorry, you're being bitched about.
They know. Oh,
Yeah, it happens.
Jesse and
People
I
need to
complain
vent.
about Adam all the time.
Oh yeah, like I'm the boss here. Get out of here. I mean, I wouldn't blame you, but
Nah. It's that big headed asshole. No. Where was I going with
My
all that?
only boss is Bruce Springsteen.
that's hey,
There you go. So that was the Sens of 2 years ago. The calamity team this year was the Coyotes. Make no mistake about that. And it's only getting worse. And the stakes are so much higher for the things that they fucked up.
Well, yeah.
And I don't think any of them were worse than this.
Economically, this is going to be the hardest on the Coyotes, what we're going through right now.
Yeah.
This team is already in trouble in the best of times.
Well, so what they'll need, Adam, is a first and second round. Oh, nope. They
Can't do
lost
that.
that because they broke the rules when it came to drafting, but it's okay. They're going to get the best people. Oh, nope. Because they got this guy.
Yeah. If I'm the owner of this team and I've just paid whatever, $500 million or whatever it was, I'm hauling everybody in there. Central scout, or I'm hauling in my scouts. I'm hauling in the interim GM that I paid for that. I'm hauling in the current GM. I'm calling in the CFO. I'm calling them all in. And I'm saying, I didn't pay $500 million for you guys to be fucking assholes and make me look terrible. Unless the owner's in on it.
Alex Marullo?
I would be
I don't know how you say it.
I would be livid. And it's one of those things, guys. This is one of those things where if you do this in any other organization, you're on thin ice forever, or you're just gone. You make a company look bad. Try working for any other company. You make them look bad like this, you're gone.
There's a lot of working fired right now for the Coyotes.
Yeah.
You're working, but you're fired. It's a matter of time.
Start looking.
Yeah.
I'd start looking.
Can we all rewrite history and like build a time machine where the point when the NHL bought the Arizona Coyotes back because nobody wanted to own them and we just moved the franchise to like Quebec City or something?
Yeah.
I feel like
Deserves it.
The state of Arizona is not responsible for the Coyotes being shitty and employing shitty people.
No. Neither are the fans who don't deserve this.
No.
right.
I feel, I do feel bad for Coyotes fans. I mean, the person I feel worse
I
for
just
is Isaiah
feel like
Brothers.
the franchise never really worked in Arizona.
No.
How is it getting worse?
Because it was not ever going to work. It was not ever going to work.
Why did Bill Armstrong accept this job? Like
Because
you're
it was
guy,
the job.
huh?
It was a job. Because it was a GM job. There's only 31 of them.
No, it's not. No, it's not. There's 30
I don't-
GM jobs and the Coyotes job.
I don't know that he would have. Yeah, I guess. I guess.
What? I would like someone to point to the lie.
Yeah, I think he probably just wanted to be a GM, man.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
I
they
can't
won
say.
a playoff series more recently than the Leafs. All right, hang that in the rafters, along with all of your Jet shit. Like
Jets
dude,
record.
yeah,
The Jets record.
Yes. Yeah. The Thomas Steen and Dale Howardchuk Coyotes.
like just,
Coyote
just-
great.
They you talk about a total culture overhaul. I mean, maybe now Bill Armstrong gets to have a little fun. I'm telling you, there's a lot of work and fired.
Bill
the Coyotes
Armstrong.
right now.
Bill Armstrong is, because of what he said, he's responsible here too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We don't know the.
I do know that he defended Mitchell Miller, not Mitch Marner.
Yes.
So now you're in it, pal.
Yeah.
You didn't have to
Also-
say anything. You could have said, you know what? It was out of my control. I was not the GM at the time. We're going to look at this internally. Clearly, we got some issues, and we apologize to the fans. We apologize to the league. The Coyotes will be better. A lot
Also,
better, right?
Second team in Toronto looks good.
Yeah, he could also say this guy will never sign a contract with this team until we get some proof that give me some receipts, and it's going to take years.
No,
We'll just hold his rights. Never sign him.
They can do that. Yeah.
They can do that till he's 21. That's 3 years. Figure it out. Anyway, the thing is that, and it goes back to, there were a lot of people that came out and said, can you redeem a 14-year-old? For sure. This one just wasn't. So, dig deeper into the story before you start tweeting stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's very telling when you don't read the whole story and tweet something like that, because if you read the whole story, you wouldn't tweet something like that. You know what I'm saying?
There were 2 boys involved in this incident, and Joni and Isaiah forgave one of them.
Bingo.
I think that
Doesn't that
says
say it
a
all?
lot.
It says it all.
Don't tell me that one 14-year-old in this story was redeemed and the other wasn't.
can you get into specifics with that? Because that's a detail I don't think many people know.
Yeah, when his last name, Hunter McKee and Mitchell Miller, were both charged for both of the same incident. So they both bullied Isaiah, and they were both charged and convicted and ordered to do the community service. And Hunter was forgiven by Joni and the family because he apologized to Isaiah. He seemed to do the work that was asked of him, and he seemed remorseful. And Joni came out and said that Mitchell did not do any of that stuff.
That's extremely significant that there's 2 and one was forgiven and one wasn't.
That's more significant. That's more context.
So
right?
If you're asking, hey, he was 14 when he did it, and why aren't you in the past? Well, another 14-year-old did the exact same thing, was in the exact same situation, and they are forgiven. So there are steps you can take, and he didn't take them.
Is that
I think
it?
we'll leave it there.
I hope Isaiah's all right, man.
Yeah.
Well, me too.
I think about the moment he found out that, what happened to the push pop.
Mm-hmm.
The probably days waiting for the tests to come back. Like what he put him through, man. And not to mention the taunts and the fact that it supposedly continued. It's all awful.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
We are going to have to take a turn and just announce some, go through some hockey news. I know this isn't, it's never easy to transition out of these topics, but we have to.
Aggressive.
Tyler Bertuzzi awarded $3.5 million in arbitration. That's a lot of money, but really good for Tyler Bertuzzi.
He was an all-star. I mean, it's whatever. I know.
Komarov.
Well,
and I know Tyler Bertuzzi is a very good player. I'm not slagging him for that. I'm just saying it was more money, I think, than Detroit was expecting.
Why are you slagging him? No, he 21 goals in each of his past 2 seasons. He's got a longer resume of success than Leo Komarov had in the NHL at the time. 47 points the year before, 48 in 71 on the league's worst team. And he made the all-star team, which does matter in these conversations, right? Like in these negotiations. So for anyone who thought it was a big dollar amount, frankly, the fact that it was the arbitrator's amount, I'm surprised it's all he got.
Colorado gets even freaking better for the next 4 years. Devon Toews has signed for 4 years at 4.1 per, which, man, talk about a guy that both sides of the coin in terms of the quote unquote analytics debate love. The Islanders loved him because he was a tough, he's just a tough guy to play against. But also, if you look at the advanced analytics on Devon Toews, they're all great. This guy is a steal at $4.1 million. The Colorado Avalanche are going to win the cup here, guys. It's coming.
Put it this way. I'll be surprised if they don't. And so the Sod trade was essentially Sod for Zadorov.
And a million less of Sod's money too.
And that's
stupid.
And Zadorov, big hits for sure. Terrible. PK Subban said it best in that mic'd up segment. He's not very good. Which is great. You should check that out. Type in PK Subban, Zadorov. It's a very funny little clip. But yeah, analytically, he's brutal. And now you're getting a guy who brings to the table some of the things that Zadorov does, plus really good at defense.
Yep.
Man, of all the moves I thought Colorado could have made to get better, I mean, I thought they were going to get Taylor Hall on like a cheap 1-year deal or something like that. But apparently, Buffalo is just too tantalizing. I did not see this coming. Wow, did they get better?
Devon Toews is exactly the kind of guy I would want on the Leafs. He's exactly the kind of guy that I would love to have on defense. And it's exactly the kind of trade that would never happen because Lou is not trading with Kyle Dubas ever.
No, it's
unless it's taking Matt Martin.
A team that if they had been healthy could have won the cup this year, got even better. They're a scary good.
Okay, so let's go through. By the way, Hayden Fleury also signed 2 years, $2.6 million with the Carolina Hurricanes, which is just another great deal for them. Let's have a look at who remains. And this trade, the TSN's actually put up some top remaining UFAs as of a couple days ago.
Sorry.
Alex Galchenyuk signed for $1 million, $1,005,000. I guess if you want to get specific. I guess they really needed that extra $50,000 in there. And I can blame them.
I was looking that up today. He's made $22.5 million over his career.
It's not bad.
The agent's like, wait,
$150
million? Absolutely not. That is, we need a free SUV.
Yes.
Out of this.
Yeah.
Like a free middle line SUV.
Or a nice pickup.
Yeah.
Middle of the line pickup too. So
no snow tires.
I gotta say, Ottawa's done a pretty damn good job this offseason. They've spent some money. They ended up, do you think Ottawa going into this offseason, and I'll include Galch in this, would have expected to walk away with Matt Murray, Evgeny Dodonov, and Alex Galchenyuk, and then have Tierney signed for what he signed for, Connor Brown signed for what he signed for I think it was 4 more years. Like, this is shaping up to be pretty good. And
going forward, they still have their own first, their own second, Columbus's second, San Jose second. I mean, the Ottawa Senators are exactly where they ought to be. And if they end up not being very good, which I still don't think they'll be very good, the amount of, hey, Cedric.
Somebody came to join me.
What's up, the entertainer? Adam's dog is on camera right now. How you doing, bud?
He just wanted to say hi.
He's giving you the little mlem tongue.
He needs a bath, though.
They have a bunch of guys on 1-year deals who could be very appetizing at the trade deadline. Like, we go, Eric Branson. You're telling me no one's going to want him at the deadline?
Somebody's going to pay a 3rd-round pick for him.
Mr. Big Scary probably going to play big minutes this season.
Jim Rutherford wants him back.
Oh, yeah. Goodbranson,
Cece.
Mike Riley, Galchenyuk.
Yeah.
Anisimov is another guy who could be available. It's solid. Everything I think is going according to plan.
I'm going to give you the top 10 free agents still available, according to TSN. And I want to ask you this. Of the names I name here, and Jesse, I want you to weigh in on this, and I'll have mine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, obviously the question is for you first. Who has the most to gain? Who has the most to lose of these top 10? Mike Hoffman, Eric Holla, Corey Perry, Michael Granlund, Anthony Duclair, Sami Vatanen, Zdeno Chara, who may or may not play, Andreas Athanasiou, Carl Soderberg, and Travis Hamonic. Who's got the most to gain here?
The most to gain?
Yeah.
By being a free agent?
Well, by holding out as long as they have. And I'm not saying they have a lot to gain. I'm just saying who's got the most to gain.
Can I say no one?
Sure.
Like, holding out cannot be a strategy this year. It can't be. There's none of this playing hard to get, being all bashful with free agency in 2020. There is no money for you. There's no money for you. So, like,
Who's got the most to lose?
Mike Hoffman's not playing hard to get right now. He can't find a team.
Oh, but there's 6 teams interested. Just ask his agent.
I'm sure. He's a consistent 28 goal scorer. Who cannot? That is July 3rd at the latest most years. This is why I made a 2019 and a 2020 grade for Kyle Dubas. This guy can't find a team.
I would love to know what was put in front of him October 9th that he turned down.
Yeah, I would love to know that.
Love to see that offer.
Yeah, what's he regretting right now?
I bet he got a Dodonov offer. I bet he got $15 million over 3 years, and he said no, not enough.
Whatever it was,
because he was making 5.19 as of last season.
Whatever it was higher than nothing.
I got a most to gain answer for you.
What do you got?
Sure.
I think Corey Perry, waiting as long as possible, has got a lot to gain.
Don't hate that.
You think
Corey Perry is 35 now. almost at the end of the line. He's gonna want to sign with a cup contender. We're gonna get near into training camp. Some team's gonna be like, okay, we need the old guy to make the push, and Corey Perry's gonna hop on that team. And I think he's gonna have the pick of the litter once training camp rolls around. He's just gonna sign a league min and get on a team that's gonna be competing for a cup.
And I agree with Jesse, because you know what Corey Perry does not need? Money.
No,
Exactly.
Estimated career earnings 85, almost 85.8.
Is that a lot of money?
Yeah.
So yeah, the guy with the most to gain is the guy who doesn't need money. He just needs situation.
The guys who are most screwed by all this are the guys looking for their first and maybe second paydays.
I think you guys are looking at this the wrong way.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at the immediate future. I think you're too close to the picture, or too close to the exposed brick wall to see all of the bricks.
Okay.
You're just seeing the brick in front of you. What I'm saying is you got a lot to gain if you step into the right situation. There are two names on that list that really stick out to me: Eric Haula and Travis Hamonic.
I'm surprised Hall is still available. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, centerman, right-handed defenseman, two most important positions in the game, the most valuable positions. You know a team's going to pick them up. And you know that they're going to be probably on one-year deals because these are very, very good hockey players. I think, depending upon the team that those guys end up at, they have the most to gain, because if they go into UFA next year and they have a great season with potentially a bad team, because chances are it's going to be a bad team at this point, all the on-paper good teams have spent their money. You're going to get a lot of ice time, and you're going to have a lot of responsibilities thrust on you. I think Travis Hamonic was a little bit buried in the Calgary amazing defensive core that they had. Fair, right? I mean, on most teams, on the Leafs last year, for sure, Travis Hamonic's their top pairing right defenseman. But Calgary had TJ Brody. And they also have Giordano. And they also have they have great young players as well coming up. I think a guy like Hamonic, who is, I believe, 29 or 30. I'm just looking that up right now. He is 30 years old.
Roughly. Yep.
Not only is he going to be a good mentor, apparently he's a great guy. Now, this could be for him geographically dependent. We know that he wanted to be on the west coast of Canada, which is why he was traded out of New York in the first place. I'm wondering if he doesn't end up on a team like Winnipeg and kick some ass.
That'd be a good match, I think.
I think it would be a perfect match. And then you look at Eric Haula, another guy that's probably on a very good team, is the third line center. On a not so good team, he's the second line center. There's lots of teams looking for center depth. Eric Haula could put, what did he have? 35 points last year? 24 points last year.
Hall of Famer.
He only played 48 games. So that's a guy that can get you almost 50 points. If he puts up 50 points as a centerman, that's big money. And I think those two guys have the most to gain. They just have to pick a situation, frankly, where they're going to have more responsibility, which means the lesser of the talented teams. I'm talking Ottawa. I'm talking Detroit. I'm talking New Jersey. I'm talking Chicago. And in Chicago's case, you get to play behind Jonathan Toews, and you get to play with Duncan Keith.
There's a bunch of teams. There's a bunch of teams, man, where I'm so confused as to where they stand. Like, I'm looking at the Bruins right now, and the reason they caught my eye is their cap space is over 6.6 million.
Yep.
And all these names, I'm just like, holy God! Like, they're a cup contender. It is, and they're a cup contender to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have to re-sign Jake DeBrusk. Okay, that takes up some money. What if they bring back Zdeno Chara? Okay, that takes up some money, and they're probably not going to have much left. Cap Friendly has all three of Pasternak, Marchand, and Kevin Miller on injury reserve right now.
Why? Oh, because they're getting worked on. I'm pretty sure Marchand, that was announced right after the season that it was knee or something.
Okay, but so then those guys come off. Are they now astronomically over the cap? Right. It's very confusing.
Well, we'll see how it goes. But I think those are the two guys that have the most to gain. Let's also not let this episode pass without a quick shout out to Joey Moss, who was a huge part of the Oilers organization for more than 30 years. He was there during the Gretzky Cup years. He was also part of the Edmonton CFL team's years. a guy that sang the national anthem and a treasure in Edmonton and an all-around good guy that everybody loved. And I love that picture of Connor McDavid, Wayne Gretzky, and Joey. So rest in peace to Joey. Shout out to his family in Edmonton. You will be missed. What a great character and an amazing part of the game and an amazing part of Edmonton sports, right?
Yeah, seeing all of the photos and memories being shared this week, it really put a smile on my face. You know, it was just a happy dude who helped a lot of people.
And I love that. I love that Gretzky was like, "Hey, man, they even traded me, and they couldn't get rid of Joey. Like Joey's the guy. Joey is Edmonton.
Like, that was tear
cool.
up.
Yeah, right.
He's been around. He's been around a long time, and I've seen. I guess maybe I'm weird about how people with disabilities are portrayed sometimes. Sometimes I think it's easy to what is the word? Almost make them sound like kids.
Almost patronize them.
That's a good one. And also just kind of make them into a mascot almost. And Joey Moss was absolutely not that. He was part of their culture. He was part of their team. He was everyone's coworker. He was everyone's friend. And if you want to know what he meant to the Edmonton Oilers, read what everyone's saying about him. Wayne Gretzky, Mark Spector, everyone who ever played for or covered the Oilers. Craig Simpson does both. He had something to say. Anyone who was ever involved with the Oilers in any way, even just as a fan, had something good to say about Joey Moss.
Let's do the press conference.
We have something very important to get to.
The
It's
Steve
pressing.
Dangle Press Conference.
And I don't know if we're going to survive when we're done talking about it.
Okay.
Which Halloween candy box is the best?
Oh, I answered
Candy
this.
box. So this is a collection of candy.
Yes.
For those of you who are not Canadian, in Canada, we have these boxes where you get your mini chocolates. So they come in like packs of 50. They're the tiny chocolates you hand out for Halloween when people go trick-or-treating. Every chocolate company owns a certain number of chocolate bars in the market. So like there's Hershey, there's Cadbury, there's a couple other companies, and they all make these boxes. So you get a different variety in different boxes, and they all have their market cornered. There's 3 main ones that are in every grocery store. There's a red box, there's a black box, and there's a purple box.
Okay.
So for those of you who are not Canadian, you won't know some of these chocolate bars. And also like things like Kit Kat taste different in the States than in Canada because a different company makes them.
Yes.
What?
So unless
licensed
you're
brand.
it's a licensed brand in the States, and a different company makes them here. So they taste a little different.
What?
Yeah.
They're better here, by the way.
They're so, if you've never been to Canada,
States Kit Kat is like,
I've never really.
Yeah. It's
Not
a huge
good.
thing. So I'm gonna list these boxes. Steve and Adam, tell me which one you think is the best. So in the black box, we have M&M's, peanut M&M's, Snickers, Mars, and Twix.
strong box.
It's a front runner
Wrong.
for sure.
Okay.
The only negative for me in that box is peanut M&Ms, which are a joke.
Sorry.
So-
M&M's, peanut M&Ms,
M&Ms.
Mars, Snickers, Twix.
Yeah.
Ha,
So it's the
combination.
only box with 5 items.
Right.
It's very key because
But it means you get less of the thing that you like the most.
It does. So they're all like packs of 50. So it'll just be split differently. The rest are also
10.
packs of 50, but they only have 4 items. So number 2, the red box. Red box is Coffee Crisp, Kit Kat, Aero, and Smarties.
Another strong box.
Strong
Very
box.
popular box.
The weakest link in that has got to be Smarties, right?
Yeah, I don't think.
Smarties are not. They're supposed to be like cut. They're Canadian M&Ms, but they're just mostly candy and a little bit of this tasteless chocolate. They're bigger Canadian M&Ms.
Kind of chalky. They're a little chalky, but
Yeah.
Coffee Crisp is such a controversial topic in this country.
Mhm.
Why? Dom Decision was going at it. I think the
People
other
love
day.
him or
It was
hate him.
hilarious.
Yeah.
People
People
love
were just
Coffee
dumping
Crisp.
on the guy
Either
for it.
side of it, you know.
Yeah.
I love them.
I love them too.
I absolutely love them. Okay,
So
good
the
mix.
Third box.
Wait, here one more time. Kit Kat, Coffee Crisp, Smarties, and Aero.
Aero.
Arrow,
Yeah.
which is outrageously good.
Yes.
And by the way,
Yep.
I thought coffee crisp was how coffee tasted, and then I tried a real coffee when I was a kid, and I was like, that is not how a coffee.
And you were
This is fake
disappointed.
coffee. Fake coffee. Boy, was I in for a shock.
Number 3, the purple box.
The purple box.
Wonder Bar,
Purple stuff.
Caramilk, Crispy Crunch, and Mr. Big.
Oh, I love Mr. Big.
Mr. Big, I think, is the greatest chocolate bar of all time.
So Crispy Crunch is different from a Crunch Bar, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Very, very
Because
different.
I love a Crunch Bar.
Crispy
Crunch is for some reason-
sucks.
Crispy Crunch does suck.
Yeah, it's all
No,
it sticks
you're
to your
wrong.
mouth. It's all weird to bite.
That's why
into.
it's the
It gets
best. You
stuck in
eat
your
it for an
teeth.
hour.
Yeah,
For an hour.
It's like
That's why it's
candy.
the best.
So I sent you guys a picture if you want to take a look and have a look over.
Is it in our? It's in our thing. Is it
Yeah,
on
in the
our
group
Facebook?
chat.
I need this because that's a
So-
lot to consider.
Yeah,
right
the
now.
picture is huge.
I have my 3 blackberries. And I got the red box
No,
the purple box
blackberries. Yeah.
and the black box.
Yeah. So I'm giving you they cost $4.99 or whatever. I'm giving you one $5 bill. You're walking into the local Food Basics, Metro, No Frills, Sobeys, whatever it is, Longos, Loblaws.
Jesse, we're doing this tomorrow on Virgin Radio, by the way.
Oh, 100%.
Like this is our main topic tomorrow.
We're doing it for 3 hours straight.
Yeah, we're just gonna do it over and over and over again with a new audience each hour. Okay.
So what do you guys pick? The black box? I'll run it over again. Black box, M&M's, peanut M&M's, Snickers, Mars, Twix. Red box, Coffee Crisp, Kit Kat, Aero, Smarties. Purple box, Wonder Bar, Caramel, Crispy Crunch, Mr. Big.
Let me throw this out there too. Anybody that looks at this picture, because I know Jesse's going to flash this across the screen and says the black box has more stuff in it, so I'm taking that because it has 120 and the next box has 50.
No.
I'm assume that it's the same.
Yeah.
It's
We're
50 in each.
Don't
We're
be dumb.
buying the 50 packs.
Yes, you're buying a 50 pack. You're not buying
All 50
whatever.
packs. Yeah.
Because I know our listeners and I know they'll split hairs. If there are hairs to split, they will split them.
Yes.
Okay.
Jesse, make sure you put black, red, purple, not purple. Adam Wild, Steve.
Hey, as long as the boxes sit in the right seats.
Yeah, well, that's true. Hey, Steve, where am I? Are you going to look to the left or the right today?
No, I gotta look down. I gotta.
They go,
Oh, and there's Jesse. Yes, Jesse, go ahead.
See, Steve, you're down and Jesse's over here. So Steve's down here, Jesse's over here.
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
It's
long
gonna be
story short,
backwards.
you should watch the episode.
Hopefully, no one's high.
Okay, Steve,
watching
what's your
this.
guess, man? What's your pick? What are you taking?
What are you walking out of the grocery store with?
This is tough because I like picking Coffee Crisp on principle. Aero is so underrated. I feel like the older you get, the better it is.
The bubbles.
You know what would make that box elite? Mint Aero.
Arrow is
You can't edit the boxes.
But you can't edit the box.
Dark chocolate arrow too, by the way. So good.
Now,
Arrow has so many different kinds of arrow, and they're all so good.
They're all good.
now the black box. That's an elite box.
Okay,
Mars
Steve,
is my.
we've gone through them all. Pick one. We know what's in each box now. Like
This
Steve's
is a
gonna recap
podcast.
this one more time.
I picked the purple box.
Purple box.
What is wrong with you?
I picked the purple box.
Wow.
Because to me, it's just a perfect mixture. It really is
no.
perfect. You got caramel for the gooey. You got Wonder Bar for the soft. You get Mr. Big for the peanutty. And you get Crispy Crunch for the eat it for 4 hours.
No.
I got to tell you, the things that don't sell me on that box is Crispy Crunch and Wonder Bar. I wouldn't even touch them. I wouldn't even open the
You
wrapper.
wouldn't touch Wonder Bar?
I would never eat a Wonder Bar
Never.
ever.
It would sit there
Yeah.
for months. I would not touch it.
I'm with you.
Literally. And I'm a chocolate person. I love chocolate. I can't have it in the house.
Now, what kills me though is my two favorite chocolate bars that are selectable: Coffee Crisp in the red and Mars Bar in the black.
Wow.
And you didn't pick either of those boxes.
Oh, no, he's done now. Don't give him the opportunity. Final answer.
You're
No, I'm
crazy.
changing to the black box. I'm changing to the
No, you're
you
crazy,
can't.
man.
No, you're purple
I want the
now.
black box.
You're purple.
Give me the black box.
You walked down with
You're
purple.
purple. You're purple.
No.
Jesse's right, but you're purple.
No.
Okay.
Fine, I'll take
All right.
purple. It's delicious.
So, Jesse, because you were the one to bring it up, I'm going to be
Yeah.
the one that goes next so we can save your answer for last.
Sure.
And my answer is easy. I voted on your online poll immediately. It wasn't even a question. Smarties, Arrow, Kit Kat, Coffee Crisp. No, that red all the way. You cannot lose with red. Red is beautiful. It's got the perfect mix of everything. You can share them with your friends. And in fact, I think Jesse bought the red box and brought it into work today because I seem to remember eating like 8 mini Kit Kats this morning.
I did have a red box.
It's such a good box. Smarties ruins it.
Yeah, but Smarties, it's kind of like you just throw them in your mouth, you go, shh, and then they're gone. Or you can give them, and I have Everly, right? So I can give her a couple Smarties and she can get them all over her fingers and then all over her
is she
face.
there? She's at that
Not here right now. No, she's with her.
No, like at the she can have candy.
Well, she like once in a while. We really try not to because there's going to be enough candy in the future. But right now it's dried fruit. That's the candy.
Gotcha.
Like they did 100 years ago. Now, Jesse.
My pick is the black box because every item in there is edible. You have the extra item and it's still delicious. When you go to the other boxes, when you go to red, you got to cut out the Smarties. Smarties are gross. If they're not good. They're too first of all crunchy and they're too sweet.
Let me be clear. They're all good. Everything is good. But I like them the least.
No. I don't really like Smarties. I gave the Smarties I had this morning all went to Jackson, TJ, and Adam.
I
give away. And
Jesse,
Adam didn't even take the Smarties.
I dismiss your opinion on this because you've never been properly fat. You don't know what you're talking about. All right? Yeah. Adam and I have put in the time. We've put in the hours. We've done the legwork. What have you done?
I have not been adult fat.
Yeah, I've been adult fat several times, man.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank everybody who weighed in on Instagram and let me know that. Really appreciate that. No. Especially the, really definitely appreciated it. Thanks, guys.
And guys who grabbed your gut at the bar.
Yeah, that happened. Literally,
that
happened.
About that
remember that? Jesse, remember that?
Do I remember that? Of course.
Did we talk about that? Yeah, okay.
Oh
my God.
Don't do that to people.
Yeah. Hey,
people's weight is their business.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're working 15-hour days, you're going to put on a little weight, for God's sakes. Funny that when I stopped working that much, I lost weight. It's crazy.
Anyways, so red box, I got to cancel out the Smarties. Mm-hmm. And for most people, Coffee Crisp is an every time thing. Can't be regularly scarfing down a whole box of Coffee Crisp. And then the purple box, I don't want Wonder Bar or Crispy Crunch. There's two items right there I'm throwing to the side to somebody.
Grow up.
So the black box is so elite because I'm eating everything in there. I'm finishing that whole box. That's my opinion.
It's so, I really wish I could change my answer to the black box because the more I look at it, the more I'm like, give me the black box.
Of all of us, you took the most time making your answer and then immediately changed it when Jesse dropped like a little bit of salt logic on you.
When I said, hey, you got to pay $1 more for your car. You were like, all right.
I'm not paying $1 for that Mazda. Not $1 more.
God damn it. You're so right.
I give you the $1.
Damn it. Damn it. And Twix with the cookie crunch, and Snickers has the peanuts, and Mars is creamy,
nougaty.
M&M's.
I don't know what nougat is, but
I fucked up. Yeah. But they're all really good.
Steve Dangle's second book. Steve Dangle. I fucked up. You could write a book of really funny stories about things you messed up, and you'd have to start with the Mark Messier cookie story.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, it would be really great.
I fucked up. Steve Dangle's 430-page book about 13 candies.
Anyway, listen, it was a fun time.
So can I just throw out one thing?
Sure.
There are 2 bonus boxes that exist in some stores. So these are rare, so they don't get counted in this list. But there's a green box. The green box includes Hershey's, Reese's Pieces, and O. Henry.
Strong.
You rarely see it, but I'm not.
Reese's Pieces are gross. I said it. Reese's Pieces.
I am.
Suck.
It is now the Staff and Graff and Steve podcast, and you two clowns can fuck right off with your Reese's Pieces slander.
Jesse, do you like Reese's Pieces?
No.
I finally found another guy who doesn't like Reese's Pieces. I was the only one.
I like Reese peanut butter cups. I don't like the
Reese peanut butter cups were just voted like the top thing in the world.
Yeah, a lot of people,
like those, but I don't
Trump
like...
got into office, man. Like, people can vote wrong.
Yeah. We're talking about like the candy, like the little candy version, right? Or are you talking about the cups?
Even the cups. I don't like the cups.
Oh, I love the cups. I don't like when they're the little candy, the M&M version.
Adam
Don't like
turned
him.
me that fast.
Yeah. The will
Never
of the
thought
people
about it
isn't
like that,
always the
man.
right
Damn.
answer.
Wow.
And then what's the other box, Jess?
And then there's I can't find a picture of it now, but there's
Isn't there a green one this has got like Skittles and Sour Patch Kids?
So
and
that's the orange box. That's what I'm
orange.
looking for.
Oh,
There's a Maynard's. It's made by Maynard's, the candy company, and it's all like Swedish berries
Very good.
and the sour
like.
candy and Sour Patch Kids and those stuff. So it's like a candy.
Don't hate
box.
that. Don't.
It doesn't get to go in this
Swedish
category
berries.
because it's not chocolate.
No.
Right. Fair
Right.
enough.
So
Swedish berries are elite.
That's
They are.
something else.
They are
That's
very,
top
very
tier.
good. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, that's it for us today. Thank you so much for playing. I hope you picked the right box and not Steve's. And
Which one did I pick? All of them.
I don't know, Steve. Why don't you tell us again which is in each box? And
Okay, tell you what, I get the purple box and then I beat you up and I take the one that you picked. How about that? You
I love
smelly
you.
fart.
I love you so much.
Smart person.
I wish you weren't 40 cities away in Oshawa. I'd give you a hug.
Stay away from me. You stay in your Toronto bubble.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Your disease.
You guys still have restaurants open. Anyway,
Not for long.
listen, we so appreciate you listening. We will be back next Wednesday and we'll have a better opportunity to kind of tell you who we've lined up for interviews. I do know there's some great names coming up, and obviously follow Steve and all of us on Jesse and myself on Twitter because we will be making those announcements as well. Very excited for what November and December bring. As crazy as that sounds, there's a lot to be excited about. And in the next few weeks, we'll probably know when the NHL season starts. I would imagine, based on what we've heard, probably the end of February, the beginning of February, which means training camp starts right after Christmas, right after the World Juniors. That is going to be a fun time, right?
We're going to find out in like an hour.
I bet.
It's gonna be great.
100%. So we'll see you next Wednesday, and we love you. Bye.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.